I am in fact not wearing lipstick. This is just a color balancing thing. So that's fun. It has been 176 days since Chris last begged for money, 610 days since Chris last uploaded pages to meet his paid obligations to the Sonichu comic, and 4,270 days since Chris last applied for a job. My name is GiBi, and I just uploaded my 2-hour-long video, and I'm doing this now because I don't want to read the comments. If you watched my video last week, you know that a book was just published about Chris Chan called Warhol/Chris Chan by Don LaSham. And let's take a look at the reviews for that book. A customer writes, 1 star, awful, constantly misgenders and mocks a mentally ill trans woman. See, as much as I might disagree with somebody like this's opinion, I am glad that there are people out there who are defending Chris, because he is entirely incapable of doing it himself. So let's now look at the next review. Christine Chandler writes, 5 stars, an illustrious comparison, verified purchase. So far, the points between Andy Warhol and I are very much on point and par. I own up to my past and how it is depicted here, and it is a humbling honor to be compared with another great and unique artist and individual. Lightning Heart Lightning. And there's a picture of him with the book. Alright, so now we're going to go over to Chris's Twitter. We have this guy with, I don't really like the profile picture there. They apparently accidentally started something on Tumblr. Sorry, and it's a war between people who like Grey Griffin and Tara Strong, who are both very famous female voice actresses. And Chris says, just to throw my Lightning Heart Lightning, and I have analyzed both Tara and Grey, and I feel Tara is better. I sense a strong, more mature, and enlightened energy within her in comparison, as well as a bit more authenticity. Grey's authentic, but Tara's got the stronger spirit and aura. Remember when Tara Strong called Chris Chan self-absorbed? That was fun. Good morning. Here's a silly random thing to say if you're startled awake. Zzz. Ah, the Ribbon Club is present at the water fountain. Laughing emoji, haha. The Ribbon Club is an arts and crafts club. They really like using ribbons, and their mascot is Sylveon. 47 likes on that. Alright, so now this is when Chris discovers the book. He says, well, this is curious. Apparently, some experts are comparing me with Andy Warhol. Although, I do wish they had picked something other than a pickle for the cover. He's completely missing the point. So this cover is actually a reference to an Andy Warhol piece of art, but in Warhol's it was a banana, not a pickle. Warhol/Chris Chan, the lifespan of American pop culture, or the suppression of reality. That's just its name, that's what it's called. If I had to choose art for the cover, personally, since we're talking comparison, a piece of Andy's art and a piece of my art side by side, perhaps a couple of respective self-drawn pieces. Regardless, this is just my Lightning Heart Lightning. It seems that he has replaced the phrase just my 2 cents with just my Lightning Heart Lightning. Yeah, these are very, very equivalent. Just to state, and I'm not criticizing the author's art choice, but I look at this pickle, and I even see that Mount and Do Me tag on the top. I feel like there's a major focus on the sex and not safe for work aspects of my life. I personally acknowledge, and have acknowledged, and addressed those aspects of myself in my self-love and healing. I genuinely have a better open heart and mind about the topic. See, it's actually really cool that he's taking this so well, I guess is the right word. The problem, I feel, is I do not want the first thing people see on a documentary or comparison book featuring about me to have to do with sex. That is a fair point. That's actually a very fair point. It gives off a misinterpretation on the subject matter of the material, my personality and being, as well as my life. Can't disagree with him there. I mean, I am not a freaking porn star, and those not safe for work videos were mostly hater, fake, or manipulated. That's also true. With the exception of the one where he was auditioning to impregnate lesbians, he did post that one himself. So, I'm a lot more than the sex and whatnot. I have class and compassion, even if I was misguided once upon a time, on more than one occasion. Does Andy Warhol's documentaries and biographies have an obvious sexual image on their icon or cover, not counting the Marilyn Monroe art? Certainly not. I would be grateful for the appreciation of the broader spectrum of who and what I am and about on the cover and icons. For the latter, Gino Samuel has done a fine job with picking appropriate images to go along with each part of the documentary series. An image of me with Sonichu and Rosie is ideal. An image of me meditating, with various past photographs spread in the galaxy or a rainbow aura image for the background would be nice. I'd be cool with an image of various colored puzzle pieces playing off the autism. Point is, I don't wish to be cover portrayed with sex or sexual-like memes that reflect or misinterpret me in the direction of XXX or porn. I feel this is a simple and humble request. I felt want to share that thought with you all. Thank you for listening. This is not only the most reasonable thing that Chris has written in my literal entire time of doing the series, it's also the most lucid. Like, this is a coherent and humble argument that he is putting forth that makes perfect sense. I don't know what to, like, I want to know what happened on May 24th that made him start making sense. I don't know. Maybe we'll find out. All right, so we have two Chris followers. One of them is I'm going to call Straub, and the other's Queenie. And Straub ats Helena and says, I've made our OCs cheerleaders at Quickville High. What would their rival school be called, and what would their colors be? I need help brainstorming. Queenie jumps in and says, don't mind me, just had an idea. Maybe the rival school can be Liquid Chris's theme. Colors should be bronze and silver. Straub comes back with, I was thinking something along the lines of a Liquid Chris school. Checking the quickie real quick for potential names, maybe the school could be Duckworth High, since that's Liquid's last name, according to the quickie, that is. Straub says, you see, I was going to read up on the quickie, but that's a lot of work, lol. The Liquid article is actually surprisingly short, lol. I could either do Liquid or Mary, Marilee Walsh. To be fair, Mary was a college dean, so she'd totally fit as a high school principal. Alright, it's settled. Mary Walsh High School. And Chris jumps in. I had not thought of high school rivalries. That was not my thing at Manchester High School, even though during my time as a manager in freshman year of the varsity basketball team, we did visit a rival high school among the away games in 96/97. On the other hand, such rivalries were observed and noted from certain TV shows and movies I've watched at the time and before then. There are two high schools in the city of Quickville, one on the northeast side and one on the southwest, both named Quickville High. Northeast and southwest. Okay, that makes sense. Mary Walsh did, however, get an honor or a new high school in the new comma. What? Mary Walsh did, however, get an honor or a new high school in new comma, being named after her. So I would say that's a fair rivalry. Okay, so apparently there's a town named New Comma. Maybe that's just a normal hyperdimension Neptunia thing that I don't recognize. But okay, Marilee Walsh High School, got it. Sonichu High School years. Straub writes, Astrid and Rose Jewett, senior prom, and it's a picture, and Chris says, ooh, so cool. I still cherish my senior prom as one of my favorite memories when my friend Tiffany and I danced together and enjoyed the moments. Haven't seen her again after graduation. Oh, that's so sad. Alright, now we get more on Warhol. This is the next day. Hey, y'all. I have given myself a refresher education on the history of Andy Warhol last night. I will have more thoughts on the comparisons between him and I later on. I will state that I did find some similarities, and I appreciate him as an individual, like myself, and select others from this pre-merge universe who was too hip for the room and themselves. And then he posts to a comprehensive Andy Warhol documentary. I feel able to also include Jerry Seinfeld in this aspect as well. When I think of any three artists that fit in the same category, I think of Andy Warhol, Chris Chan, and Jerry Seinfeld. As we have our observant insights and perspectives that allow us to generally analyze and observe the common folk and others of highly enlightened souls and individuality, as well as how before we were similar to being wallflowers, in a sense, and then being partially to fully sociable. It's like I got used to his new lucid way of typing that now getting back into his run-on sentences makes it really hard to read. And we are, essentially, each like the fictional, animated, and original characters presently barred from us in this illusionary divided universe that still get chronicled and immortalized in the various media, here and there. So he's saying that they're like the fictional characters in Sewer 97. We, the foreground types, do for ourselves and everyone else around us, and in the backgrounds. See, that one was a sentence fragment. Andy was definitely similar to like us in that way, but he did not fully comprehend and appreciate his roles as such to better the use of his abilities. But in the classic art style of the multiple variants of a same individual or image he manifested, he innately did tap into the multiverse. Okay, so I'm guessing that you're familiar with the Campbell soup cans and the Marilyn Monroe very famous Andy Warhol pictures. Is Chris claiming that the inspiration for this kind of art where you show four similar but different, or identical but different in a very strange way, images of an object was inspired by his visions into different multiverses, because that's what it sounds like he's saying, and I don't like that. And spiritually cleansed himself of the self-imagery and ideas sooner than later. He, too, could have gone as far as I have in the interdimensional and greater psychic abilities he had. Tell this all to Jerry Seinfeld, he's still alive. We can have Jerry in another universe. I will also note in appreciation how he took the indirect approach in voyeurism in his films. He did, in The Way, put himself within the crowds who were in front of the camera by projecting himself from behind the camera and far away. That's all for now. Thank you. I mean, yeah, it's interesting that you can take his artwork and say that it's like seeing multiverses, but that's something. Alright, so this is Roger Craig Smith. He voices Sonic, I'm pretty sure. And he's coming back to officially voice Sonic in some games. He had retired earlier this year, but it looks like he's back. And so you see a stitched-together blue heart for Sonic. And Chris says, even Sonic himself agreed that there was no one he appreciated as his voice actor better than you, Roger. I know, because I have talked with him face-to-face a number of times. I thank you for returning from the graces of my heart and my CPU Blue Heart honor. Lightning Heart Lightning. Hey y'all, I was just remembering the classic Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle episode, April Foolish. And the Turtles crashed a costume party, obviously mistaken for wearing costumes themselves. Donatello accepts an award from the host on their costumes, even if it was for ridiculousness. But, thinking it further, they essentially won an award for being themselves, and when you receive a prize or prestige for literally being yourself, that is a very high compliment, amongst the best compliments one can ever get. Of all of his threads, why did he make it so that nobody can respond to this one? Alright, so this is the day that the book actually arrived in the mail for Chris. I've just received my copy of Warhol/Christian by Don LeChamp today, and I have personally compiled and printed a lovely jacket for the book, so I don't have to feel bored in with looking at a pickle. Now this is a cover art. I also added a personal blurb on the inside. Just read parts 4 to 6 in the disclaimer, chapter 0. I say it was quite fair so far. I'm invested. It is, the book itself is actually really gripping. I read it in I think it was 5 different multi-hour long sessions. It's a well-paced book. Although to simply state one nitpick, everyone knows what I see and experience are not Let's try that again. Everyone knows what I see and experience are not delusions. Anyone who calls Sonichu, Magichan, Iron Man, Batman, Kim Possible, Ratchet and Clank, Sonic the Hedgehog, Super Mario, Goku, Inuyasha, and Kagome, the Smurfs, and so on a delusion, you may as well call yourself a delusion. All of you really need to be further enlightened. I have traveled through the Iron Curtain for years, and even the most in-tuned of psychics and mediums of this universe will speak in agreement, because we all know they do exist and coexist together alongside us. And tearing the universe-dividing barrier that was made back in the late 1300s is more difficult than just me flipping a power switch in a vision in a distant heart part of the universe, but I digress. And putting that aside, I do like Warhol/Christian so far. Thank you again, Don LeChamp. Also, Gino Samuel, you've been cited and mentioned in this book. Did you know that? I wonder if Christian's ever played Kingdom Hearts, because I think that would really back up all his theories and stuff. I love KP a lot says, the older I get, the more I realize that clear and honest communication just hurts too many relationship types, and it always sucks. Please be honest with your friends in a non-assuming way. Unclear communication. I was so confused. What? Chris says, very much true. I always appreciate authenticity and honesty in others when they express it. The 1 week I take off, I took off last week to finish my big video. The 1 week I take off, he's tweeted multiple threads literally every single day. We're only on May 26th. Here's a brain bender for you all. No judgment. But considering a number of individuals in the past have sought doing kind things for and with me to seek favor and praise from me. I've never considered that before because I have no idea what you just said. Considering a number of individuals in the past have sought doing kind things for and with me to seek favor and praise for... Okay, so people do kind things to him so that he then does kind things back to them or praises them. Okay. And the number of the past online exes, fakers, who played me in relationships for a time, did any one of them, or you all in that similar light, think to genuinely be good with me for an extended time in order to actually learn and experience me on massive extension? This is not an invitation to start such a relationship with me based solely on that. Yeah, what about the documentary guy? He was, like, actually trying to experience Chris, and he has real friends like MKR and the other Watchmen. And now, after some time since whenever in this universe I ranted online, I'm going to put forward a rant I feel now is appropriate since I brought up the question. How could everyone who could have, while they had the opportunity, not think to actually continue on with me and offer more content than Lois... What? What is happening? How could everyone who could have, while they had the opportunity, not think to actually continue on with me and offer more content than Lois Lane is with Superman? I think the comparison is that Lois Lane is a reporter, and because she's dating Clark Kent, she gets the inside scoop with Superman. I think that's what he's saying. Not just the thoughts and musings I would privately have to confide, but the entire experience of being with me, feeling my aura of energy, and even supporting me while I supported them the best I could have. And lack of money does not count at all in this, because what I have always had to offer was in emotion, compassion, and support, and that is despite and regardless of how more naive I was as of 2007. But no! All I thought was, how could I take advantage of Chris's heavy heart and overabundance of kindness and love? How can I toy and mess with him, emotionally and mentally more so than the already had? And indeed, to take it a step further, let's stop here. He has legitimate friends. Like, he has a D&D group that he plays with. The Praetors aren't a great example because they are just using him for money. But there are people in his real life that he's friends with, and there's the Watchmen. I guess he wants to meet these people in person, and he wants to sort of share his wisdom with them, which doesn't really happen. But this is... Again, this is very lucid. He hasn't been lucid like this in years. And indeed, to take it a step further, let's talk about that sex, or genuine lack thereof. Oh, I don't want to contract anything with Chris and his overweight belly and butt. I know. I'll play call girl with him and his rocks off by his own hands, embarrassing him in front of his own dad for the lols. Okay, so he's complaining that he would have phone sex with the fake girlfriends. And yeah, his dad walked in on him one time. Yeah, for the lols. But like, those people would never have wanted to have sex with him, so I don't understand what his criticism there is. He's about to mention Catherine, who, if you watched my big video that I just put out, she was mentioned very briefly. This was somebody who went on friend dates with Chris and made it explicitly clear that they were friend dates, and Chris still thought that she was his girlfriend, and tweeted out, told the whole world that he finally had a girlfriend, and then it just fell apart eventually. So Catherine had a closer vantage point to get that mark that those before her were afraid to ever venture to, the actual intercourse. So this is because he thought that they were actually dating in real life. The only other real girlfriend he's ever had is Jessica Quinn, who was only ever online. Everyone had the opportunity, even Emily and Casey, since they actually met me in person, to yank me along and claim the V card before April 2012. That's when he had sex with a prostitute. Oh sure, I'll bang rocks with him. That's not an expression. I'll bang rocks with him from a massive distance from in front of my computer, but I'll never go and play crying game and farther by... Also, haters, let's get Vivi to hack his website and post gay porn ads all over it. That'll really warp his fragile mind. Everyone had their chance to actually have me, but they didn't, leaving being remainingly satisfied with just imagining my... Does someone have control of his Twitter? Because this does not sound like him. Okay, I'm just going to keep going. Even post-2015, having the idea of, quote, I know, I'll pay for Christine's gender reassignment, vouch for a donor uterus. That's not how that works. It's not how that works. Vouch for a donor uterus and ovaries so she can still conceive, even though she could never lose her sperm sac or what's left of it. Oh, and yes, I'm going to ram her so... When I'm doing Christian videos, sometimes I'm okay with reading things like this from a historical context. Like, oh, on June 5th, Chris wrote, I'm gonna ram her so hard up her, I'll hardly feel anything after I'm done. It's a lot harder for me to read that on the fly, having no idea that it's coming. But suffice to state the obvious of how too late everyone on this side of the Iron Curtain with the fake and hate in that minority of the remaining toxic populace to take any form of advantage over me like that. So he's complaining that he never had sex with these people, but it's too late now because he's actually married to, like, Magichan and people. On the other hand, I am, however, most grateful that the majority is genuinely a lot better than that. At least you all do better than you think outside of behind your screens, around you, and so on. And I actually am proud of you all for not taking advantage of me like that at all. It demonstrates that this world is mostly kind-hearted and compassionate, and moved on from the stereotypes of yesterdecade. 2 theories. Theory number 1, this is not Chris. Theory number 2, he is strangely lucid for some reason. For whatever reason, this week, he has a tighter grip on reality and his own past and all that stuff. Maybe it is literally just because he read the book. And for that reason, he sort of has like 5 years of pent-up sexual frustration coming out, and he's saying all this stuff because for a moment he's kind of realizing that, you know, his imaginary spouses aren't real, and he has never really been with anyone, and he's 39 years old. But this is a good point. Like, we talk a lot about the trolls in Chris's life. Gino Samuel has 130,000 subscribers. A lot of people know about Chris, and very few people have trolled Chris. So this is a very good perspective to have on that. The trolls are a very small minority. On the other hand, my body has not had it as easy as I in my interdimensional travels, as I've had to astral project and leave it with its backup systems, keeping it in check and safety. My body is sexually over-inexperienced and starved. I wonder if there is a word for over-inexperienced. I don't know if that qualifies. If any of you are quickie mods, please put this in the quickism section, over-inexperienced. I don't know if it qualifies, but I like it too much. That in itself counter-demonstrates that on this side of the Iron Curtain, not even one genuine, authentic, enlightened individual with a similar aura to mine exists. This, before the completion of the dimensional merge/collective shift, I had prayed and wished to be proven wrong about. So he's kind of saying that there's no human for him, which is very dark. But now the merge is on. Okay, never mind. But now the merge is on and has been passed by. And that has been passed by. Magichan, Krizel, Sylvana, and Mewtwo would not have minded a sixth in our polyamorous relationship who was born here. Just gonna let that sink in for all of you who had considered over the years. I am finished with this rant. Thank you for listening. I also state I have no regrets in sharing this with all of you. I feel this is a major truth you all needed to hear. I can hear the thoughts of not saying either of those words and get a job already amongst all of you in response. But I also hear the remaining responses that are actually kind and empathetic with this situation and bunch of emotions against the majority of the world. I got nothing. I literally have no response to that, other than all the things I said while I was reading it. That's just... So, he back when Chris was being possessed by Sonichu, he got approached by Kawaii Sandbag, and this is the guy who pretended to be a psychic and eventually convinced Chris to return back to his normal body. And during that conversation, Chris was talking about how he still really wants a human girlfriend. He wants a physical person to actually be with. And it seems that that's just something that's been on his mind a lot more recently. And he's just frustrated about it, and so he's putting himself out there to all these people who even the fake trolls, all these people who he interacted with over the years. And he's just like, hey, this is another chance for you. Someone made a Sonichu patch, and Chris says that it's cool and cute. Some Sonichu for the soul. He does not smoke. If Christine knew how to make a Sonichu NFT, she would probably make a lot of money from it. I have looked it up on Google and Wikipedia. I don't get what an NFT is. I mean, he's not wrong. A suggestion for the next Chris-chan fanfic that can be manifested. Romancing quickly. He wants people to write him fanfiction so that it can happen in the other dimension, I guess. Just not with a totally inexperienced simp. Has Chris-chan ever used the word simp before? Authenticity, honesty, and experience is utmost appreciated. Plus, if my vibrant aura resonates with you and your aura intrigues me in return, that'll be a major bonus. So he wants to date the person who's writing the fanfic. Okay. Have to talk about this now. So Velvet Underground was a band that worked out of the Factory, which is where Andy Warhol did his work. And they have a song, I'll Be Your Mirror, and Chris covered that song. So I guess we're gonna have to look at that now.
Heal and love yourself. Forgive our mutual flaws. Heal and love yourself. Forgive our mutual flaws. Heal and love yourself. Forgive our mutual flaws. I'll be your mirror, reflect what you are. In case you don't know, I'll be the wind, the rain and the sunset, the light on your door, to show that you're home when you think the night has seen your mind. That inside you're twisted and unkind. Let me stand to show that you are kind. Please put down your hands, 'cause I see you. I've got in mind and body and soul. Don't follow the past, follow the present. I'll be your mirror. I'll be your mirror.
That was fun. Now back to the real questions. Can Sonichu Mega Evolve? Dude, read the comic. It's literally in the comic. Yes, Sonichus, including Sonichu Prime, can Mega Evolve. What about ponies? Can they Mega Evolve? And can I, with or without a Mega Stoner? I think it just means Mega Stone. Chris says, ponies, not common, the one exception being Nightstar Sonichu. With you, depends on how enlightened you are and how much you know yourself deepest. Mega Nightstar Sonichu. Okay, so the pony form of Chris's OC, which is not Chris, that exists in the other dimension, can Mega Evolve. Cool. Hey y'all, I've talked a bit with Don Lasham, the author of Warhol Chris Chan recently. I learned a fun fact about the original cover art. Aside from the obvious meme reference, and the Pickle Man, throw in Pickle Rick for good measure, the book's cover art was actually inspired by someone else from recent months who drew the Warhol-inspired pickle and apparently signed it with my name. This pickle art was inspired by the banana Andy drew for Velvet Underground's album. Okay, so apparently Chris did not know that. I have known for many years that others have looked at me and seen themselves and/or the truth in general. Don here has also cited a track from Velvet Underground's iconic album, I'll Be Your Mirror, which, I do agree, shines a comparative similarity of Andy and I, being respective, iconic representations of a couple of generations. This is really hard to read, and he's just saying that the song makes him feel like he is, in fact, a lot like Andy Warhol, and then he sang it. This is all stuff that we already covered. But back to the intro topic after I've digressed, lol. Despite the pickle art having initially brought back some PTSD-like moments from my past that I have spiritually addressed and healed of myself, and the fact that I'm a lot more than just a singular meme, and the sexual implications, after being informed of this inspired source, I found appreciation in the artistic aspect. So, much like that 3D printed lolcow from a few years ago, I gladly accept this cover art at present. This distribution through Amazon is essentially first edition distribution. There are plans that have yet to be fruited just yet, but in the works. And, at the least, I sport my copy of the lovely jacket and art with my additional blurb and approval words on it. Oh, MLP Silverquill, just to let you know, Doc's mentioned in this book. Still reading it. You might have been mentioned as well. Still yet to be confirmed. So Doc is the character, I believed, played by this YouTuber in their YouTube show. This is the blurb that Chris wrote for the book, so let's look at this. I was not personally approached or made aware of this book until recently. Personally, at first, it appeared as such the comparison between Andy Warhol and I was something random and out of left field. But, on the contrary, as I've regaled myself with the history of his life and accomplishments, I have been long aware of his iconic soup can and photographic differing art pieces. But I can appreciate his style being comparable with what I have drawn and written in the past. Well, oh my me, I would not open such a factory as Andy had. He did what he did in order to explore himself. He did what he did in order to explore for himself within his own personal limitations at the time. I feel, personality-wise, the like characteristics and qualities are there between us. But take it to heart, I am more extroverted, I like to be touched, and I have beyond spiritually healed myself. Agreed, had he been more self-aware of that within the deepest and depths in his personal core and soul, he could have done a lot more for himself. As I do state the same about myself, once upon a time, back as early as 1998 and before then, but I digress. I personally raise a freshly brewed cup of Rainbow Chakra tea in a loving toast to Andrew Warhola, and I am most humbled to be compared with such an avant-garde and unique artist and soul as he. Thank you, Andy, for your greatest of contributions to this universe. Christian Sonichu, May 26th, 2021. Again, he's just being a good sport about this stuff, which is just interesting. This Queenie person wrote the Romancing Quickly fanfic that Chris asked for. Chris says it's a start, simplistic, not bad. That's great. That's great. That's great. Guess we're gonna have to look at this eventually. Just did a Google inquiry on how tall Andy Warhol was. Pleasantly surprised we match in height. At least he won't be asking me, how's the weather up there? Is he actually the same height as Chris? That's actually fascinating. Someone drew the tarot card, the magician, and they drew it as Magichan, and Chris likes it. Okay, so as a non-fiction book, the Andy Warhol Chris Chen book has a lot of footnotes. Some of them are longer than the text on given pages. So this is just a footnote that Chris is about to respond to. Warhol was born in 28, and Chris Chan was born in 82. You switch the numbers around, and the one reminds you of the other. Yeah, so 28 is 82 backwards. George Orwell wrote 1984 in 1948. Same deal. Warhol was born on August 6th, and Chris was born on February 24th. 8/6 and 2/24 8 times 6 is 48. 2 times 24 is also 48. None of this actually means anything, but I can't help but notice. And Chris says, "Well, Donnie Lashambi, you may state none of those numbers meant anything, but you actually gone into literal numerology. There's no shame in that. I'm some into numerology, but Mr. C. Robertchew, my dad, was into numerology as well. That is interesting and something I did not know about Bob." Okay, Chris's Etsy store is releasing a rock. They're selling rocks. "We're now releasing all meditation stones from the Temple of Sonichu at the low price of $20. Of those available, one lucky winner will find along with their purchase a signed copy of Don LaChambe's Warhol/Christian. Get them while you can." This guy says, "Chris, I made an animation, want to see it?" And Chris says yes. And then there's nothing else. Okay, here's the animation. I'm not going to play the whole thing for you because that would be lame and you should check it out for yourself, so I guess I'll link it in the description. But the point is that Chris likes it. So there's more of those Praetor-made yellow Sonichu medallions in stock on Etsy. They're still labeled as first run, which they're not at this point, and let it be known that the Etsy store now has over 500 sales. You all did this. This is all of your faults. June 1st. Hey y'all, I'm continuing work on my self-healing alongside my workings with the other deities, the total universe, cosmos, as well as from within myself. Today, I start reconnecting with my inner child once again. With that stated, I felt it would be good and well to channel young Christopher and let him talk things out with you all in a set of tweets. And there's a picture of him as a kid. Do note that young Chris mentally spans between birth to around 15 to 18. Christian, the young adult, you all have read about and become past accustomed to, spans in the transition in 15 to 18 and onward to about 2050. He's starting with his ages and then it says it goes to years. Why? And I became better enlightened around 2010 to be more enlightened and better developed and clearer one of present day. Okay. But again, the focus is on the younger part of me, and for the Christorians, feel free to chronicle this on the quickie and for your own personal reference. This will take a while from after I finish here. Without further ado, I lend my body and the keyboard in front to the little boy from the 1980s, Christopher. Just in case people don't know, Chris, this is something he does a lot, where he will refer to himself, like, pre-transition as Christian or as male. Like, he, unlike many trans people, Chris doesn't think that he's always been trans. He thinks that there's a hard date, which is in the early 2010s, where he became female and where he became Christine. And so this is just another aspect of that, where there are 3 people who've been inside him. There's Christopher, Christian, Christine, and then I guess you can count Magi-chan and Sonichu, who also have possessed him over time. But yeah, let's read this. This is gonna be great. Hello everyone, my name is Christopher, or Chris for short. I'm feeling uncomfortable and nervous talking like this. I've been ever so observant over the years. As Christine has said, my views is on the youthful side. I've had some friends way back when. My closet friends were Sarah and Josh. Sarah Hammer, who was his neighbor, who then moved away when they were pretty young, and Josh is Joshua Martinez, who was in his speech therapy class. I spoke for a while, only a few weeks old, this is true. I remember Mom and I were at the best store that day, and I spoke to her. So he claims that he stopped speaking. Well, first of all, he claims he started speaking when he was a couple weeks old, which is impossible. And he claims that he was mute for the first couple years of his life. And then he started speaking when his mom bought him toys, so that's what this is a reference to. The problem is that I don't think he was 100% mute, because again, he was in public school, and he would have stopped being mute when he was about 8. And he befriended Sarah and Josh at this time, and there's no way that all those things could have corresponded. So I think he was only quiet, basically, not entirely mute. I came into this world with the memories from my past life with Merlin, but other stuff became more important. I also remember shouting as I was playing that day when the babysitter got really upset and locked me in that room. I had no one to talk with, just the toys in that room. I did have a friend who came and played with me, my guardian, Magi-chan. He talked to me and told me stories. I had dreams of visiting this large city, one of which is the one where I fled from a tall business building with a baby in hand, my future daughter. Still holding on to that dream, I didn't talk too much after that day with the babysitter. I was following Magi-chan's example of being telepathic, but apparently not a lot of people were getting my messages. I played a lot with my toys. I read Berenstain Bears. Yes, Berenstain. I watched Sesame Street, Care Bears, Transformers, Smurfs, Muppet Babies, and Sonic the Hedgehog when he finally came on television. I played my Commodore 64 computer a lot. I typed the command in, have the floppy disk with all of those games saved on it in the disk drive, and I played whatever I felt like. I played with Sarah. We were neighbors. Ran around, tag, hide and seek, swing set. We had fun. We played with the other kids in the neighborhood. I also watched Charlie Brown and Snoopy Show a lot, speech therapy at James Madison University, had classes with Josh. We went to Kids Castle and had country fried steak with white gravy at Country Cookin'. School. Greene County schools were fun a lot of the time. I liked playing on the playground and on the computer. There was this fish game. Did he play Freddy Fish? That had to do with bigger ones eating smaller ones. Darn it! I thought he was playing Freddy Fish. That one scared me when the really big fish came around. Number Munchers was a lot of fun. Oregon Trail, Apple vs. Commodore. I gotta stick with the one I have at home for the better choice. I also played with my Transformers figures. I liked the Micromaster and Action Master figures. They were within my reach when I became old enough. I have a few G2 toys, hardly any G1. We went to a lot of yard sales and flea markets. There was this flea market on the corner where Food Lion is now in Ruckersville. I was always calling it the junkyard. I don't know. I was a kid. Aren't you currently a kid? Isn't this from Christopher's perspective? In primary school, we had this awesome teacher, Miss Miller. She got married. My mom and dad and Magichan and I went to the reception party before Miss Miller moved to Utah. I liked our principal, Mr. Wade. He was a kind and understanding man. Dad worked at General Electric, the big building not far from here. He had a lot of papers from there. He designed the controls for plastic mills, steel mills, sawmills, and all that stuff. Mommy worked at Virginia Power in finances. She worked on a computer a lot at a desk with those removable walls. Mommy was a real business lady. Daddy was a real businessman. All these words that were one way I could get, but bunch of times over my head. That was incomprehensible. Those words were over my head. Grown-up words to an extent were tough on a youthful mind, depending on how old the soul within is, and I was really old and beyond grown up. Autism really kept me feeling frustrated and overwhelmed, but I still had my thoughts and ideas and things. I read and looked at pictures. I turned on the closed captions when they were available on the TV. Dad and I sometimes watched Nick at Night when he let me stay up late. Get Smart. Yay, Don Adams. I liked the RCA video disc player, those vinyl DVDs we had in those hard plastic cases. I've put records on the turntables. They can break if you're not careful. Darkwing Duck is really cool. I did not like 4th grade. It sucked. Pinned down by those mean teachers. Mrs. Gady, why? Why did you pin me down with them? Why did you hurt me? Did autism really confound you? I had a crush on Tiffany Robinson, though. She was a really pretty girl. She lived somewhere else, though. Somewhere beyond Standardsville from where I lived. The courthouse visits really confused me some. I got really hurt from that pin-me-down, but did they really have to kick me out and force me into homeschool for 5th grade? I missed riding on the big bus to school that year. Sarah and I were really sad when Mom and Dad and Magichan and I had to move to Richmond to continue my education. But it turned out for the better. Awesome bonus, I won the Sonic the Hedgehog Watch and Win sweepstakes. That was a really good day when we bought those games and Zords. I'm feeling mentally drained right now. I think I need to let Christine have this body again. Thank you all for listening to me. So, Chris is well aware of the Geno Samuel documentary. Chris is well aware and is currently reading the Don LaSham book. I think this might be his way of sort of writing his own history. Like, he's making his own comprehensive history about his life, but he's able to write himself in a better light than other people will look at him, like, objectively, the way that Geno does. And he also gets to rewrite it and say things like Magichan was there, despite the fact that he wouldn't invent Magichan for another 10 years. Okay, so the same day, now Christine is back in the body and is reading Chapter 5 of the book. I'm reading Chapter 5 of Warhol Christian right now. One reason why I was to check in with my inner child was to find any remaining issues to address that haven't been addressed, or could be addressed better, and spiritual guidance also informs of something between Barb and I. Well, in part thanks to Dom, but moreover to me in recognizing resonance in the present moment topic, my mom has hoarded too much stuff. Even as a child, I recall every single time she went shopping wherever, furniture, knickknacks, and such. What was the majority of her collection? And I apologize in advance to any and all seamstresses and tailor types reading this. She has hoarded cloth and clothing items, and with that, it makes even more sense why we had those me-high tall mountains of clothing piled downstairs. Barbara did make clothes, and was a master at the sewing machine. It was something she heavily picked up in her childhood in Red Oak. She made her own dresses and outfits, because her family of both parents and 8 children, counting her, made financial balancing not easy for them, and Barb was number 5 out of 8, one of the 2 middle children. So, even though her studied major was in accounting and numbers, she also had a knack at sewing. Now, here's the thing. She's not used her sewing machine at present, nor in the past number of years, and even though we have successfully cleared out over 75% of the piled clutter that was piled after moving back in on New Year's Eve of 2014 a few years ago, There's still a bunch of stuff in one room that can be easily opened to be an additional bedroom that nobody uses anymore. There's still some stuff in the workshop, but it's more than half cleared these days. We leave alone the garden shed my dad left a bunch of stuff behind in, including a light-up Christmas Village display. I have not checked the back porch, but wagering it is still full of stuff. And another point Don reminded me of, the fact that I was not allowed to even touch her things in reorganizing, donation, or disposal. And, by the way, you can all thank my friend, Anna, who was a major genuine positive help in encouraging my mom to unload during that time. Noel, please, please, please rescind your unrequited threat against her and allow her to speak with me again soon. She was, or is, never going to bad talk you or separate me from talking to you. That remains of my choosing, alone. Yeah, Anna was always a good influence. Back on topic, considering where we are at with the events at this time, I feel capable of presenting this chapter portion to Barbara by reading it to her, personally, and waking her up to realize what we can actually do. And personally, I would like to clear that spare room up. I feel better getting that off my mind. Thank you. This is amazing. This book might legitimately be the best thing that's ever happened to Chris. Like, if he actually goes through with this stuff, this is great. I don't know if Barb's lucid enough to understand or change her ways now that she's basically bedridden. But, yeah, this is good. Chris, please, as an anti-fan, get help. And Chris responds, and please, as myself, who reflects you, of which I could tell you to get help as well, I tell you, like Donnie Darko, I'm too hip for the room. Okay, so, we finished with Chris's Twitter for the week, we watched his video, we did all the fun stuff. Somebody did a Reddit interview with Don LaChambe, and I'm going to be covering that in a different video. I'm also going to be reading that new fanfic in a different video, so that should be fun. Please help me. You can follow me on Twitter at GiBi_Devin for updates, and also when I accidentally post a video that isn't edited because I uploaded the wrong file, and then I have to tweet out an explanation, and people who only follow me on YouTube are probably extremely confused about why that happened. That was fun. I'm going to keep doing these videos, hopefully every week. I'm not going to miss another week unless I have a really big project in the works. My next project in the works is another Absurds video. This time it's about Merlogic. He's the Wonder Bread guy, so look out for that. I hoped that would have been done already, but it's not. And if you haven't checked it out, watch my new 2-hour video that I just uploaded. It's real fun. It's like Geno Samuel's videos, only instead of being 50 hours, it's 2 hours. So that's nice.